Welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline live in the new BP TV studios. Thanks for watching us on Comcast 7 only in Bethel Park. Thanks for also watching us on Verizon 32 in Bethel Park and the surrounding communities from Nemacolin to Cranberry and Wexford. We appreciate all of you and all the likes. Our Facebook page hit a brand new high, 6,573 likes. We appreciate it. That's the top number we've had since. I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. I got Chip Hayner with me. Smoking Jim is in heavy traffic, we heard. So we're not sure when he may arrive or if he will. It couldn't be anything to do with the roads between Monroeville and Bethel Park. I'm sure it's not that. This time of year, if you lived in Pittsburgh your whole life like Chip and I, you sort of know the weather goes against you.
You know, you leave a little earlier, you drive a little slower, you get here. It's also nice if you know alternate ways to get here.
He knows one way.
Instead of the most
heavily traveled
path. So.
He may be stuck in a tunnel. Who knows? All right, but Smoking Jim, if he gets here, we'll hear what's on your mind from him. What's on Your Mind is sponsored by Skeets Lewandowski of Skeets Service Station. He fixes anything and everything that runs on gas. Just check him out. You can. He's right in Finleyville. Give him a call, 724-348-4715. Tell him Al Levine, the talking machine, sent you there to get your car, your lawnmower, your snow blower, your boat, your truck, your car. You name it, he works on it. He sponsors What's on Your Mind. Now, I want to start with some of our promos. Our sponsor of Pittsburgh Sportsline is Olive Oil's Pizzeria right at Hillcrest Shopping Center. Thanks to Frank Fanero for the pizza and hoagie. We appreciate it. Give him a call. Talk to Mitch, 412-831-1900. Tell Mitch Al Levine said to give him a call. He'll make your pizza. Then we have a couple promos. Bethel Park Historical Society. They have the Schoolhouse Arts and History Center. They rent places out there. They have activities there. They help promote other businesses. Check them out. Go online, the Bethel Park Historical Society. It's a 501c3. Another thing, we end each show with Stay Joey Strong. Joey Fabus died before his 9th birthday because of DIPG, a terrible brain cancer. All the money that you donate to this 501c3 goes to the research on finding a cure for the brain cancer that kills these kids. Their lives, once they're diagnosed, they have less than a year to live. So it's a terrible, horrific disease. If you need money for a group or organization here in Bethel Park, we've talked with Chip and Jim about it, but
I can't get them to give me a plan.
They won't give you a plan. Go to bpcommunityfoundation.org, bpcf.org. Check them out. Get an application. You can get from $100 to $5,000 for your group or organization in Bethel Park and the good you're doing in the neighborhood. So check it out, bpcf.org. All right. Now we look for volunteer opportunities at the studio. Dave made a little fun of me, put my face where Uncle Sam could be. Uncle Al wants you to be on BP TV. Call 412-831-3304. Say you want to volunteer like tonight. We got Steve Fisher, Rookie of the Year, running the whole show. You could be there helping out on a control board and cameras like he is, and other shows that we do in the community. We do almost 500 shows or over 500 shows each year. Check it out. There's a lot of opportunities here for our volunteers. And that's what I have for you. We're going to start this show with Chip Hayner. What's on your mind, Chip?
Oh, thank you, Alan, and good evening, everybody. Well, what a weekend in sports. It's been actually the last 3 days have been quite event-filled, to say the least. And I won't get too far into it because I'm sure we'll delve into this in one of our segments. But what a humiliating and embarrassing loss that the Steelers were a party to on Sunday afternoon. If anybody would have told me that the Steelers could score 42 points and lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars, I wouldn't have believed it, but I watched it. It happened. So
I got to second that emotion.
better luck next year. So we'll get into all the different, where you got to point the finger of blame, but that's that. But what's truly on my mind, being a lifelong Pittsburgh Pirates fan, as well as a season ticket holder for the past 7 years, it is with great regret that I say a fond farewell to the face of the franchise, and that's Andrew McCutchen. Unfortunately, the Pirates have decided that to move forward, they need to cut bait with somebody that helped resurrect the franchise from the depths of despair, needless to say. Andrew came up in the summer of 2009, and immediately his enthusiasm and his talent started making an impact on the team. And then in 2010, the Pirates were just as awful as they could be. They won 57 games, and Andrew McCutchen was the only star that shined on that team. And subsequently, the Pirates were able to change their losing ways. They managed to make it through 3 seasons of winning baseball, making the playoffs. Unfortunately, they couldn't get past the first round of the playoffs. And the first year, the second 2 years, they lost in the 1-game playoff. But I am proud that Andrew McCutchen was a Pittsburgh Pirate. I am truly sorry to see him go. But I do understand the dynamics of Major League Baseball and the various markets that they have. And unfortunately, it was a necessity that the Pirates had to do. And, it still doesn't make it any easier to swallow. But if I'd like to say anything about Major League Baseball, they need to level the playing field. This model that they have where there is no salary cap and true non-revenue sharing. You're never really. There's always going to be the teams that are the haves, and there's other going to be teams that are the have-nots. Unfortunately, Pirates had to take a different path, and I'm sorry to see Andrew go. Garrett Cole was traded on Saturday. We knew that was going to happen, and Garrett Cole, as the number 1 pick in the draft, slated to be the stud ace pitcher of our staff, didn't pan out that way. And the way he was trending in the last 2 seasons, I think the Pirates made a wise choice in getting what they could for him before they lost him. They only had him for arbitration for 2 more seasons. His agent, Scott Boras, was certainly going to make sure that he saw the free agent market, and there was no way that he would have ever stayed in Pittsburgh. And, Garrett, I thank you for your time here. You contributed to a winning ball club. Wish you well, too, but truly, my heart's broken that Andrew McCutchen is no longer a Pittsburgh Pirate.
Understand. I'm a Pirate fan, have been maybe a little bit longer than you since I'm older, but I got you beat only because of the birthday. We knew these things were coming, and it's always sad when there's a change and there's rebuilding. The Pirates officially, this is rebuilding with Garrett Cole. I bid him a farewell, and it was great to see him here. 196 strikeouts last year. I don't know if we can replace it with anybody this year coming up, but I'll be watching the games. Andrew McCutchen, they dangled him last year, so you knew it was going to happen. It was only a matter of when, and it happened. It's different than hockey, where our superstars like Crosby and stuff can be there.
Smoking Jim is still on the Parkway East. He's probably not going to make it this evening.
Smoking Jim will not make it from Parkway East in God's country in Monroeville on a snowy night in Pittsburgh, fans. That's our latest update. But anyhow, I'm thankful to Andrew McCutchen in saving the Pirates for 3 years. I was hoping the Pirates would do something when they had 98 wins and get that maybe great pitcher, great hitter that could set you up for another good year like that, but it didn't happen. Last 2 years have been tough, so we'll see what happens there. Got to at least talk about the Steelers, because I kept putting it on Smoking Jim, even though he picked the winner, Jacksonville. He bet the house on them, won again. But it was 13-3. That was for me. They're starting to remind me of Bylsma before he ceremoniously got fired, when he could get them to the playoffs and did well in the regular season, but couldn't adjust his game to the competition in the hockey season playoffs, which baseball is a regular season and the playoff situation. Football's the same. Got a regular season of 16 games, then you have the playoffs and you see what the teams are made out of. I was in for a shock. I thought for sure, with all the rhetoric and nonsense going on, that they would be fired up. When I blinked, we were down 14-0, 28-14 at the half. By chance, a couple good plays brought it to 14. Got within a touchdown, kept waiting for the other shoe to fall every time we scored, and sure enough, it happened. I got to bring up the 4th and 1 plays. It's just amazing. There is no quarterback sneak with a 6'5", 270-pound quarterback. He could fall forward 6 inches. I mean, that's one of the things we'll talk about in a Steelers segment at the end of the night, so I'm just briefly touching on it. Without smoking Jim here, Chip and I will get into it a little bit on where we failed and what's going on and the changes that will have to happen. I alluded to Baalsma and how he got fired. I don't say they should fire Tomlin. I just say there should be adjustments to the coaching staff and some of the people there because of the lack of good plays by certain people on the team, and we'll get into that a little deeper. It was very disappointing. I'm proud of 13-3. I just wish them well. They got all the pieces for next year. Good news is Big Ben is not thinking of retirement this year because of all the Le'Veon Bell pass catching and running.
If I may interrupt you.
Go ahead. I'm on a little bit of a roll. Get it.
I know you are. What do you feel is worse? The way the Steelers lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday, or the way the New Orleans Saints lost to the Minnesota Vikings on the last play of the game with no time on the clock? Just give that some thought.
Saints is a worse loss because a guy missed a tackle. You know, and a guy did
the
gather
score
himself.
Went back and forth.
All you had to do, since you brought that up, that was on my mind too. If the guy just stands there and grabs the guy, the clock runs out.
Yes.
That's all that had to happen. This diving at his legs before the pass got there was nonsense, and I give Diggs credit for gathering himself, staying in bounds, and running to the end zone. What an ending there. Ours was bad enough. It was from the minute the game started till the time it ended. So, and then I won't even, I got to mention the onside kick. That was one of the worst I ever saw. Can't even imagine that happening. Clock management, not going to talk about that till later. Again, we'll touch on it. But, hey, that's what's on my mind. I'm as upset. I bleed black and gold like the rest of you. I'm very frustrated by it. It was tough with the Pirates and the Steelers this weekend. The only good thing is, I got to say this, Penguins 4 in a row. That helps.
There we got our positive.
We got one positive here. We'll be back with Chip's Trivia Time.
I've shown an interest in making home movies. Me and some buddies would just grab a camera and you just start making these videos, and then you realize at some point that this isn't just a hobby anymore. It's something that you actually want to pursue, and there's this great facility right down the road, BPTV. A lot of people will try to do these productions on their own, and one of the things they don't have is the equipment, you know, but right here is everything she needs in one nice little bundle. There's lights, cameras, reflectors, dollies, all kinds of little knickknacks, like anything that you'd want to use that you would need for a production, you have it right here. Like, it's all right here. You can make your own feature movie just with the stuff from this studio. Come meet Dave Cable, let him show you around, and I think you'll realize that this is something that you could fall into regardless of your level of expertise, whether you're a beginner or even if you're a more advanced learner. There's something here for everyone, and I feel that you just need to come through and just be a part of the experience and just watch and learn, and, you know, let Dave be your guide.
One of the things we do at BPTV is encourage our producers to film on location. Not only does shooting on location give our producers the opportunity to take advantage of their subject matter, filming in different locations gives each program its own distinct flavor. This also helps anyone who's flipping through the channels avoid confusion when they turn on BPTV. With around 500 programs produced at BPTV each year, the last thing we want people to think is that we're only broadcasting one program. So, you need to come into BPTV to pitch your TV show, but in terms of where you actually end up taping your show, the sky's the limit.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to my trivia segment. We've got the AFC, NFC championship games being played this weekend. And much to my chagrin, and against the way I picked this past weekend, I didn't get anything right this weekend. Just want to let you know, it is a very good thing I do not bet, okay?
Me too.
But, Tom Brady is playing in his 7th consecutive AFC championship game.
That sounds like the NBA and LeBron.
Think about that for a moment, folks. 7 AFC championship games in a row. So here are 12 postseason nuggets on why you should hate number 12, okay? And I'll start with number 1. His 63 touchdown passes in the postseason is easily an NFL best. Player with number 2 is Joe Montana with 45 touchdown passes. Brett Favre with 44. Peyton Manning with 40. And Aaron Rodgers with 36. Rounding out the top 5, and I'm sure that top 5 has changed because these don't include last week's statistics. And Ben threw 5 touchdown passes, so we'll see where he stands. But Tom Brady is also the all-time leader in postseason passing yards, 9,094, with Peyton Manning at 7,339, Brett Favre with 5,855, Joe Montana with 5,772, John Elway with 4,964, and Ben Roethlisberger, who passed John Elway on Sunday when he threw for almost 500 yards against the Jacksonville Jaguars, was next in line with 4,787. So far and away. And why is he able to amount those types of statistics? Well, let's look at how many times that he started in a playoff game. His 34 playoff starts, which is more than 2 full regular season schedules, are the most ever by a quarterback or any player in NFL history. Peyton Manning is second with 27, Brett Favre with 24, Joe Montana with 23, John Elway with 21, round out the quarterback list, while Adam Vinatieri with 30, Jerry Rice with 29, D.D. Lewis, linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys, and Manning fill out the top tier of list, including all players. So Brady's also holds the record for the most wins in the playoffs.
Of course.
His 25 playoff wins are the most by a starting quarterback by a long shot. Joe Montana's next with 16. Brady's 12 postseason games with 300 yards passing are an all-time high. Manning has 9, Drew Brees 7, and they're second and third on that list. His 5 Super Bowl championships are the most ever by a quarterback, followed by Terry Bradshaw and Joe Montana with 4 each. He is tied with the Mad Bomber from the Oakland Raiders, Darryl LaMonica, and San Francisco's Steve Young as the NFL's all-time leader for most postseason touchdown passes in one game with 6. Brady accomplished this on January 14th, 2012 versus Denver. LaMonica did it in December 21st, 1969. And Steve Young did it on January 29th, 1995. Oh, that would have been the year that the Steelers lost to the San Diego Chargers in the AFC Championship game. So one of the things that's consistent between Mike Tomlin and his predecessor, they're very adept at losing in the playoffs. All right, number 9. I said there was a dozen reasons to hate number 12. His 26 of 28 passing performance on January 12, 2008, a divisional round win over the Jaguars, ranks as the best ever completions percentage, 92.9, in a postseason game. Phil Simms, 22 of 25 for 88% in the Super Bowl in 1987, and Kurt Warner, 29 of 33 on January 10th of 2010, are right behind him. In divisional round play, Brady has posted an 11-2 record, completing 316 of 509 pass attempts for 3,700 passing yards and 26 touchdowns. 7 conference championship victories are the most by any starting quarterback in the Super Bowl era. He has appeared in 11 conference championship games overall, passing Gene Upshaw and George Blanda, both who have played 10. And last but not least, his 7 Super Bowl appearances are the most ever by a player, passing defensive lineman Mike Lodish, who played in 6 between his time with the Bills, 4 years, and the Broncos, 2 years.
Wow.
I bet you nobody would have guessed that. But I
never
will
would
tell
have
you that
guessed
the
it.
one record that Tom Brady doesn't have and is held by a local boy, East Brady's own Jim Kelly. He won 4 consecutive AFC championships. However, he failed to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So that's what I got for you this week, folks. Conference championships this weekend. You know, I am personally pulling for the Jaguars to beat the Patriots. I mean, you know, it goes without saying. And I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for the Philadelphia Eagles. But, you know, you can flip a coin on that game because I think it's going to come down to the last play like it did with the Saints. Yes.
Well, thank you, Chip. Appreciate your trivia time. On location. Last night was a snowy night in Pittsburgh. Drove all the way out to North Versailles. We did a show at a brand new gym, USS Fight Academy. We had a great time there. I had to be cameraman since Devin Shea couldn't make it in the storm. He almost hit a couple poles and called me up, said he was turning around, and I said, be safe in your journey home. Set the cameras up. We interviewed the family that started this USS Fight Academy at 1712 Lincoln Highway. It's near Smoking Jim's Monroeville. Of course, Smoking Jim got lost. And he did make it there a little late, but
you know, the unfortunate part, he left a trail of breadcrumbs, and the snow covered him, and he lost his way.
It happens, sir. You know, we're used to this weather. We filmed Steve USS Cunningham. He's a championship boxer. He's won a couple cruiserweight titles, won a light heavyweight title. He's 41 years old, still boxing. Just a great guy. His family's involved, Living Cunningham. We interviewed her. We even saw their young baby, 1-year-old, Mosiah. He was there, and he has a great facility with 2 boxing rings there. Of course, he's a boxer, so he's teaching people what he has done to be successful. They have a weight loss program that they started January 8th for people to lose weight. I got Smoking Jim almost ready to sign up on it. They said they'll work with them. and get rid of the buckets of Kentucky Fried Chicken that he gets. But they'll work on that. They even have alkaline water, and they'll go over your diet plan, your workout routines, from boxing to running to lifting weights to punching the heavy bags. So they have quite the gym. In the background of the show last night, they had people working out while we were interviewing. It just went really well. It was great to help promote this nice new business in Pittsburgh, and 1712 North Versailles on Lincoln Highway in North Versailles. USS Fight Academy, check them out, like their page. They got a lot of good stuff. They're looking at developing a boxing team from 95 pounds up to heavyweights, and they'll be fighting in the Golden Gloves. Steve Jr. is already a great fighter. He'll be fighting Golden Gloves this year at about 130 pounds. Great kid, has great technique, and it's just really energizing to see a place like this that provides ways for you to work out and learn from a boxing champion. So check it out. We'll be on location February 12th at Hollywood Lanes. February 12th at Olive Oils, and I have to announce Hollywood Lanes. We will be doing shows there the third Monday of each month, not the first. And our first show, we're going to have the Wildcats, who just won another championship at Daytona Beach. Hall of Fame photographer Frank Fabus took some great photos. Johnny Ray, the coach, will bring the trophy, and we'll have a bunch of their players at Hollywood Lanes on the 19th. Mark your calendar for Hollywood Lanes, 7:30 to 8:30, for the Wildcats team to be there and maybe do a whole show with them. We'll check it out. We're working on a couple other guests. Still looking for another place or two, so we'll see what happens. Thanks for listening to my on-location report, and get ready for February 12th, Olive Oils Pizzeria, $5 hoagies, large hoagies, one topping, $5, pizzas, one topping. Hoagies are also $5 too. Great food. We enjoyed it tonight. That's all I have for you on location.
Hi, Bethel Park. Remember me? My name is Jason Planitzer. I was the host of a little show here. You may have seen it. It was called The Jason Planitzer Show.
What would you say your experience at BPTV, how has that had an impact on your life?
I found my voice. I learned how to be funny. I learned how to create things. I learned how to collaborate with people here. I developed an interest in film and comedy and making videos. It stuck with me. It continued through my life. I got into working on motion pictures. I now I'll produce small videos. I'll work with producers on commercials, television projects, feature films. I scout locations on TV shows and movies, which involves me reading scripts, finding the locations that need to be shot, and collaborating with the director and production designer to find the perfect spot. It all started at BPTV for me.
We got to dig in deep with these Steelers. It's so disappointing. 13-3, that was for me. Turn the game on, down 14-0.
You know,
what a nightmare.
And it's always been the Steelers' forte to bust the opponent right in the mouth right off the first snap of the ball. And
Where was it?
the people that got busted in the mouth were wearing the black and gold. Jacksonville's offensive line just completely manhandled.
They controlled
our
us.
front seven. Our defensive line was non-existent. Cam Hayward probably had the best year of his career, 12 sacks, made it to the Pro Bowl, and he had 1 tackle. Jacksonville had 61 plays. There was 1 play for negative yardage, and otherwise Jacksonville just ran the ball right down our throats. And then when Jacksonville completed passes, and I don't think Greg Bortles is a very good quarterback.
He looked like it.
Well, when you've got a receiver that's standing there with nobody within 10 yards of him, it's easy to complete a pass. He didn't have to thread the ball through traffic or throw to a spot. They turned around, they were standing there, and then, of course, after they caught the ball, they got 10 or 15 yards because for some reason we wanted to run with their receivers instead of hitting them. And it was a bad deal all the way around. So,
How about their running game? I was thinking we wouldn't see a big running game because they were prepared for Fournette.
No, and they were running downhill.
3 touchdowns.
And their offensive line, it owned the game. They were, they won that battle. I will say this: the Steelers' offense rose to every single challenge. Unfortunately, when they needed to convert, they just weren't there. And those 2 series with 4th and 1, they made the difference in the game. But to be honest with you, what lost that game for us was our defense, and
we weren't in the game. The feeling of the game, you know how you watch games. You've seen them as long as I have, just about. You get a feeling for how a game's being played, and they were taking it to us. There was almost like no doubt that we were losing this game. If it weren't for some great catches. Martavius Bryant, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell.
He was playing at less than 100%.
Sure.
7 catches, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. Le'Veon Bell rose to the challenge. Martavius Bryant came up with a big play. Juju Smith-Schuster was kind of conspicuous by his absence.
Yeah. He had a couple plays, but...
Vance McDonald. Now, if you remember what I said last week, one of the keys to the game, I said, was if the Steelers do not turn the ball over, they will win this football game. There's 2 turnovers, an interception off of a deflection by Vance McDonald at their 8-yard line, so they had a short field to go on. That, and then the strip sack and the running for the 6th. Those 2 plays right there, the 4th and 1s we could have lived with, but those 2 touchdowns that were scored off of turnovers, to me, were the difference in the game.
Well, that's why it made it like there was no doubt about the outcome of the game. Mm-hmm. I watched the game. I felt bad about it, but it was like, this is a done thing. They're not going to come back and win. Now, the 4th and 1 that bothered me is when it was 6 inches.
Yes.
Big
and
Ben
they pitched
could
the ball
fall.
back 7 yards.
Excuse me. Big Ben could fall down.
Yes.
He's got an all-pro center and an all-pro guard. Go right behind them, fall forward. Guess what? First down.
And I will tell you this: there's some players in that secondary that I don't feel should be on the team next year. William Gay has had a great career as a Steeler. I think he's outlived his useful life.
Smoking Jim mentioned that yesterday, and what's on your mind?
Mitchell.
Gay should be gone.
Mike Mitchell, he needs to just go away. Don't go away mad. Just go away. He runs his mouth, and he talks a bunch of smack, gets people fired up. And if you're going to do that and you're going to bring it on Sunday, I got no problem with that. But when you run your mouth and then you get trucked like you did this past Sunday, I'm sorry, you need to go play for the Cleveland Browns.
Just a couple of Fournette's runs. All right, he got past the line, but where were the DBs?
Yeah.
Or anybody to even get a hand on him?
Yeah, it
was just nightmarish.
It was sad. So now you look at. Of course, I've heard some of the most foolish reports that some of the Steelers' minority owners are going to lobby Art Rooney Jr. to fire Mike Tomlin. Now, let me just explain something to you folks. There is a reason why these people are minority owners, because they're not smart enough to be a majority owner. The most ridiculous thing I ever heard of is firing Mike Tomlin. The guy has 116 wins and 60 losses in 10 years as a coach of the Steelers. You're telling me the second best coach in the NFL giving you an 11.5 wins a season on average, and you're going to want to fire him? And I know that my dear friend Jim Frazier would interrupt me, he would laugh at me and ridicule me for saying this, but a fact is a fact. Look at the numbers. Now, as far as who should not be coming back next year, the one guy that I would like to see come back next year, Mike Munchak, looks like he's going to get another head coaching job in the NFL. So I'm fairly certain we're going to lose him. But what he's going to leave behind is a legacy of probably one of the best offensive lines who will be coming back intact, which is one of the reasons why Ben wants to come back next year.
Doesn't it make
now,
sense?
I go to the other side of the ball. Now, I know everybody's going to point the finger of blame at Keith Butler. And I don't necessarily think that Keith Butler was the problem. And again, my dear friend Jim would disagree with me. I think where the changes need to be made on the defense, I think it's time for Joey Porter to be given his pink slip. I think it's time for Cardell Lake to be given his pink slip, because I don't feel that the Steelers' linebacking core has gotten better under Joey Porter, and I'm absolutely certain that the secondary is not improving to the degree that we need it to under Cardell Lake's tutelage. Now, those are two great Steelers, you know, and, you know, maybe it's blasphemy for me saying that maybe they should go away. But if you're going to get rid of those two and you're going to get rid of the defensive coordinator, I can understand that. But I don't know if it's necessary for him to go.
That's where I'm at, Chip. I think all three have to go, because there's a problem. You have great picks and talent there.
Poor communication.
And
that goes to coaching.
You can't keep having this lack of communication. Yes, we lost a great guy, Shazier. Whether he'll play again, it's in God's hands, and who knows what will happen. That made a difference. But we go by the next man up. Where are these guys? Who are these guys helping the coach up? You coach up the next player.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing anybody coach them up.
You know, and James Harrison wouldn't have made a difference because
he would have rushed okay.
He would have rushed okay,
That would
but
have been
James
it.
Harrison doesn't have the ability to be able to cover, and that's what the Steelers were asking their tight ends to do this year. They were in more coverage. T.J. Watt, I think he could become a superstar in this league, but I think
Hold it. With the plan that they have, he sort of disappears, dropping back into coverage.
Yeah.
If he's truly a rusher, let him go not just to the outside of the tackle, let him run a stunt inside of the tackle, because how many times do you see him just coming out, just missing a play, because he has some quickness. So to me, I'm a coach, I got to adjust that play.
Well, and you know, and here's another thing, and I know that this is a gentleman that has not made a lot of friends since he came to Pittsburgh. Todd Haley as the offensive coordinator. Now, you could sit there and point the finger of blame for bad calls that he made on the field.
I will.
And, you know, okay, that being said, he called the plays that put 469 yards in passing offense and 6 touchdowns.
Here's where I got
as well as 100. So he put up almost 600
I got
yards
to throw
of
an
offense.
asterisk next to that. These players overcame that with great plays. I mean, come on. The great plays that we had on the field, I can't take good or bad from him, because he does the game plan to start out. Their first couple series, they were lost.
See, this is one of the things, and I'm glad you did this.
Yes.
Because I was having a conversation with a friend today, and we were going back and forth, because, you know, I'm stubborn enough that I won't ever
We all are.
I won't ever admit that I'm wrong. You know, when they perform like they did on Sunday, it was the players. And when they underperform, it's the coaches, because, see, you can't give.
Here's where I draw the line. Here's where I draw the line.
It's either always the player's fault or it's always the coach's fault.
I get a little
If you
deeper
want
than
to-
that, because some of the plays called should be a little bit different, like a pitch out or like a scheme running the ball or a scheme where you forget Le'Veon Bell? Who's making those calls? We got one half, Le'Veon Bell's done well. Second half, now you've cut down his carries to 2 or 3 when you had a dozen.
Yeah.
I'm thinking you double that up.
Well,
The
you
guy's
know,
had over 400 carries. He caught 85 balls.
It's easy.
Guess what? Here's how simple I am. I don't have to know anything about football, but these guys can handle the ball.
You know, and you and I, it's so easy for us to say what he should have done, what he could have done. and
I'm
what he
saying
would
it
have done.
before.
You know,
I'm saying it
yeah,
before.
you know, but I mean,
Guess what? Bubble screen
I don't-
City. Here's
I-
my answer to the Steelers.
I
I
don't
bubble screen Le'Veon Bell almost every play.
I don't really.
That's
point
what.
the finger
That's
at
what
blame
I'm
on
telling you.
Mike Tomlin made some bad decisions because ultimately he's the head coach. And, you know, the onside kick, I understand his logic for calling the onside kick, and it was extremely poorly executed.
One of the worst.
Okay? But I understand when he said we did not consistently stop Jacksonville's offense in the second half. So what would lead me to believe that if we kicked it deep to them that we were going to do the
Here's
same
what
thing?
I-
Because all they had to do was get first down.
Here's what
first
I
down,
say.
and then run the clock out.
Tomlin's one of the most optimistic guys with a team. Here's what I am if I'm Tomlin. I got 2 timeouts. I got the 2-minute warning. I kick the ball. I got an all-pro kicker. I kick the ball down there. They start on the 25-yard line.
Yeah.
And guess what? If we stop them, we stop them.
But
if not, we're going to bitch about it anyhow because
but
you
we
didn't.
We didn't.
But
and we
I
hadn't
mean,
been.
they
We
only
hadn't been.
gained 9 yards on that.
well,
but it
you
was
know,
enough to get the field goal.
You know, it's.
But that's what bothers me, a little bit of the minutia. And I don't always put it on Haley. I wasn't a fan of his when he came here. I understand he did change things. We got a good offensive line that helps protect Ben. They only had 24 sacks.
Yeah, and
That's helping his career.
That help extend his career. And I will tell you this.
And that's because of Haley.
You know, and you know,
I give him credit there.
I don't see you blow up everything. You know,
Well,
but there were definitely changes that need to be made.
Defensive changes. I think it needs to blow up.
Now that begs me to ask the question. Okay, all right. Ben told us he's coming back next year. That's great news. Okay, because let me tell you this right now. If Ben wasn't coming back next year, I'm thinking maybe 3-13. You know what I mean? Even with the talent that we have on that roster. So I'm glad Ben's coming back. So now we got to consider what are we going to go after in the draft. You know, like, so here we got the draft coming up, and we're going to be drafting
Linebacker.
28th. We're going to be
Linebacker.
drafting 28th. Do we go, you know, I know Dim's going to say we should draft a cornerback, and maybe he's right because Artie Burns regressed this year.
Oh, terribly.
From last year. Sean Davis, who had a very good rookie season,
Disappeared.
regressed, okay? I looked at a mock draft today on the internet, and it had the Steelers with their #1 draft pick taking a strong safety from the Alabama
Whoa.
Crimson Tide.
Get on.
You know, and it's like, okay, that's all good and well, but at what point do we start grooming Ben's successor? Now, is Josh Dobbs that man?
We
don't
don't
know.
know.
We don't know. We haven't seen him. You know, the Steelers did this, and they deliberately did not play him this year.
Sure.
I don't know if the gentleman has the talent to be an NFL
I'm not
quarterback
confident
or
enough
not.
with Landry Jones.
Landry Jones-
I've seen enough of him.
He could be a game manager, but if you're going to be in contention to win a title, unless you've got a shutdown defense like the 2000 Ravens, like the Denver Broncos from
Yeah.
a couple of years ago,
When Manning just
unless
managed the
you
ball.
have a shutdown defense like that, a game manager is not going to cut it for you.
No, and he's already showed what he can and can't do.
Yes.
I mean, he did some completions this year and stuff like that, but no, you got to think about that. That's a possibility. Although Big Ben off the record did tell his teammates 3 more years.
Well, he did.
So-
So then here's the other thing you have to think about. You got Le'Veon Bell, and he's crowing, saying that he may not sign a franchise tag. And the Steelers tried to extend him for good money, and he turned it down. Okay, so he's actually, if he accepts the franchise tag, which is $14.5 million for next year, on the $12.5 million he had this year, he would make less money playing this year and next year than he would have if he would have agreed to extend with the Steelers.
But here's the thing about it.
So
the next running back only makes about $8 million.
Well, here's my point.
So that's the dilemma.
Here's my point. At what point in the draft are the Steelers going to take a younger running back? Because Le'Veon Bell may be the greatest running back in football right now, but he's not going to last forever. He's already 5 years in to his NFL career. Okay, and with the kind of beating that a running back takes, 6, 7 years. I mean,
you hate to talk about it because I like Le'Veon Bell. They give him $14.54 million. He plays football. He doesn't retire. Then after that, who knows what'll happen?
Who knows? But you need to have the replacements. You need to think.
But we need defensive players. That's part of our problem. We need another linebacker at least.
Now
would we safety, cornerback,
and I believe the Steelers have like the least amount of money under the cap.
Yeah.
For next year of all the teams in the NFL. So does that mean that we can't go shopping in free agency to find out who's out there? They could be an easy stopgap. So, that means we're going to have to rely on the draft and drafting that low in the draft. So would it be wise for the Steelers to trade up?
We'll put it like this: on defense, it's rare. It's rare that a defensive player starts his first year in Pittsburgh. Yep. So that's another strike against that.
But we had Sean Davis and Artie Burns last year that kind of debunked that myth because they both started last year and played well, but they weren't.
It didn't happen.
They
again.
were exposed.
Yeah.
They were exposed.
Yeah. Their flaws.
The sophomore jinx. Bit them.
Or whatever, or the lack of talent, or things that we missed that they overcame.
So, you know what? We watched the Jacksonville Jaguars play the Patriots, and with the exception of Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Massachusetts, the entire rest of the United States, myself included, will be rooting for the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday.
Count me in on that.
Yeah, count you in on that.
Yeah.
Not so much with the NFC championship game.
I would like to see the Eagles because they're underdogs again.
Well, the Eagles, because they're underdogs, but the Vikings have been to 4 Super Bowls and they've never won. And I would love to see the Vikings win.
Case Keenum. It's hard to even mention that.
Hey, you know what? The guy...
He's done it.
Did he pull the rabbit out of the hat on Sunday or what?
Yes.
We were watching that game on Sunday night, and I was sitting there talking to my wife, and I said, "Well, I says, you know what? Let's watch the last 2 minutes." I said, every time each of them get the ball, they're scoring." And then we got to that last play, and my wife sat there with her mouth hanging open, like she goes, "Did I just see that?" And I was like,
"Yes."
Yep. And then it took half an hour for the play to be reviewed when it was clearly obvious it was a catch and a touchdown, but they did it. So here's the thing that I found ironic, and another reason why I just can't get over the NFL's hypocrisy. And this will lead me to my next point about television ratings, because I remember
We'll get that out.
We'll get to that. So there's no time left on the clock. Minnesota scores a touchdown. It is now 29-24, no time on the clock. The referees said that you must kick the extra points. The Saints are in their locker room. News people all over the field with cameras and cords and everything, and the players all have half their uniforms off. Why do they have to kick the extra point? And I think there's 2 words that explain it. Las Vegas. Because of the books, because we know that the NFL doesn't encourage sports betting.
No.
Okay? So here's what I was really proud of the Vikings to do, because I was sitting there screaming at the TV, and I said, kneel on that ball, kneel on that ball. And they did. And you know what happened? A lot of people that bet a lot of money on the Minnesota Vikings and 5.5 points lost their bet. okay? Because kicking the extra point would have made it 30-24. The 5.5 points would be covered.
Sure.
And I just found that, once again, it's the NFL, and you're trying to tell me that we're
Gambling.
worried about the integrity of the game. Now, to speak to the television ratings, you know, my dear friend Jim Frazier insists that the NFL is more popular now than it's ever been. Well, I saw the television ratings for the divisional round of playoffs for this Saturday and Sunday. They have dropped almost 12% from last year
You're
on a
kidding.
whole, and the television ratings for this year's divisional round were the lowest since 2009.
That's shocking. It's
2009.
worse than I thought.
So, you know, the NFL thinks that they can keep printing money, and, you know, they need to do something about the way the game's officiated, because here's what's going to happen Sunday. Jacksonville's going to have at least 2 or 3 calls that are going to get called against them because the game's being played in Foxborough, and we know what happens in Foxborough. You know, the headsets will go dead, you know.
Depends on who puts the ball across the line.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to see what happens there. No, that's shocking. But what a drop in viewership.
You know, I mean, I've always, I've been watching the NFL since the mid-'60s. You know, my dad and I would sit and watch on our black and white TV set in the living room with the rabbit ears.
Yeah.
Okay, and the tin foil on top of them.
It helps.
Yeah, you know, we watched Vince Lombardi and we watched Don Shula when he coached the Baltimore Colts.
Yeah.
Okay, and you know, the game evolved to a point where it got so big that, you know, something had to happen. And I think the way that they're handling the concussion protocols, the way that was handled in the Carolina game the week before,
Sure.
They just make a mockery of the rules, and they make the rules for what's a catch, what not a catch. They put so much verbiage in there that nobody knows how to interpret what's a catch and what's not a catch.
Right.
And at what point do you become a runner, or are you a receiver? And what's this thing
Well, it
about
still irks me at the goal line.
surviving the ground?
I broke the plane. Look at the
ball's
immaculate
dead.
reception.
The extension.
How about that? When he did the extension last year, that was a similar play. Bing, bang.
Yeah, it is.
It's over.
And then, you know, and to be honest with you, when you see so much of that happening, and you see plays happening where guys are committing blatant penalties and they're not being called, and then other times
How
there's
about the
ticky-tack
Jaguars
penalties.
holding our players? Juju Smith-Schuster was held on a play when the ball was overthrown to him. There should have been a penalty on that.
Well, like I said,
mean, there were a couple other plays.
no consistency.
Yeah, it's
There's no
just-
consistency. And then they go and they review plays, and you know what? If you go to review a play and you can't get a decision within the first minute after reviewing that play,
What are you doing?
You know, the call stands. You know, I mean, why should it take 10 minutes
They
to
need
review
other
a play?
angles.
No, because what they have to do is they have to get somebody with a PhD that can decipher the way the rule's written and then see how it applies to a play that happens in real time. It's no wonder the referees are blowing call after call.
Yeah, they're trying to do the best they can. It's a split-second decision, and this stuff happens. But it is frustrating watching the game on what is a catch.
Yeah. I mean, it's something as basic as that.
That should be as simple as could be.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
So, you know, I mean, so we've got some big news coming out of the Pirates, and everybody has written off the Pirates, and they're mad at Bob Nutting, and
Stay tuned.
There's nothing but hatred and vitriol being, you know, spewed at the Pirates, and I don't understand. You know, everybody knew that Garrett Cole and Andrew McCutchen were not going to finish out their careers as Pittsburgh Pirates. I hate to have to admit that that's the reality of the situation, but it is.
It truly is.
And you know, we're not going to. The Pirates are not going to spend big money on free agents, and you know they're not going to give out contracts that don't make sense. So, I personally, as a Pirate fan, like I said, I'm sorry to see Andrew McCutchen go on May 11th, 12th, when I'm down at PNC Park, when the San Francisco Giants come in, yeah, I'm going to give Andrew McCutchen a standing ovation. Okay,
Yeah.
and it's going to break my heart to see him in the black and orange. But you know what? That's the nature of professional sports. Very few athletes in professional sports start their career and finish their career with the same team.
With the caps that we have, it's hard in this era.
So I mean, I will judge whether or not these were good trades or bad trades when I see the way the teams perform on the field and the pieces that we've added. Like at the end of the day, if the Pirates, perform well, then the trade will make sense, and it'll be interesting to see how Koch and Garrett Cole perform this year. I'll be keeping an eye on what their statistics are.
What did we have? 75 wins this year.
75 wins, yeah.
So that'll be where I'm looking at. Are we better than 75 wins or not?
And you know what? I can tell you this: if Pirates finish at 500 this year, I would be extremely.
And that's why I bring
pleased.
that up.
I'd be extremely pleased. But we'll
because
see
they
what
were
happens.
in a lot of games last year, and they lost them.
They lost them.
Yeah.
And so now we've got, Alan talked about our Penguins. Looks like they woke from the dead. Well, we'll see.
4 in a row.
They say they've won 4 games in a row, which is a great thing. Evgeny Malkin is lighting up the lamp. Sid Crosby's playing like a superstar, and congratulations, Sid, making it to the All-Star game.
Don't
He got
forget
voted
Kessel.
on the team.
Don't forget Kessel.
That's right. Don't forget Phil Kessel. But,
What a shot he
but
has.
the Penguins are on a 3-game road trip, and for the first time since November, they're going to play back-to-back games on the West Coast. And this has been their biggest problem this year. And let's see how they perform. They got Anaheim Wednesday night, and then they.
Who do they got after?
There's
It's
Anaheim. There's,
California, 3 teams. I forget
there's
who.
San Jose. There's Anaheim. There's the Kings.
But they will. They got to keep winning. They got to turn this around. It's a regular season. They got to get into the playoffs.
They need to start coming together as a team. Their power play has been on fire. Their power play was converting over the last 4 games at over 50%.
That's huge.
That is absolutely huge. Now they've got to keep from making foolish
Well, they've
penalties.
had the #1 power play. They can't play 5-on-5 hockey.
Yes.
That's one of the disappointing things about watching them. But 5-on-5 scoring's weak.
So the Penguins are coming to life. Unfortunately, the Steelers' season ended too soon. We had big hopes for them.
I know I did. I predicted #7.
They should have made it to the Super Bowl, and there's a lot of.
We're
ways
doing a
you-
live show, but I got to ask Steve, how's our time look? Because I'm looking 1 minute to go.
1 minute to go.
All
Okay.
right.
Well, hey,
How did we get on time?
How did we get on time? I don't know, but Alan, it's been a pleasure sitting here chewing the fat with you tonight.
Yeah.
Talking some Pittsburgh
I didn't
sports.
realize we're at an hour already.
It always happens with you and I.
I know.
You and I.
We got it
We're
covered.
talkers.
And I hope you enjoyed it. Skip Atkins, hope you're enjoying the show. I don't have my phone on me. I forgot it. So anybody messaging me, I can't get those messages. I appreciate everybody watching us each year and all the great feedback that I've gotten from you. Chip, it was a pleasure chewing the fat with you.
Chewing the
Back at
fat,
you.
Yep, we'll have the championship games. We'll know who's going to the Super Bowl next week.
And we'll update you on that. And we're just thankful. Thanks to Steve Fisher for guiding us here. We're almost at the end of the show. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. And I always end the show with Stay Joey Strong.